We'll find out. We got the guys we wanted, and we got some guys that we didn't think we'd have an opportunity to get. So we're pretty excited about that. And now we'll get into summer league, see what we have once they hit the floor, and add some veterans through free agency and trades, and try and get a more competitive team on the floor next season. He's the whole package. I mean, it's very similar to Dame, the way he carries himself. He's got command presence on the floor. He's got incredible confidence. He can really make plays off the dribble, which I think is something that'll make our offense a little bit more fluid. He's another guy that really wanted to be here. I think from very early on in the process, his agent is a close friend of mine. We actually grew up together. And, he had talked right away that he thought this was the best place for him. He and Damian have been in constant communication, and it was just a perfect fit. And, for a long time, this last week or so, we just didn't feel like he was going to get to us at 10. And when he was, we were ecstatic. Well, I mean, I think you saw a little bit of it last year. Look, that's up to Terry, how he's going to play these guys. I mean, we thought he was clearly the best talent on the board when we were selecting. But I think we saw a little bit of it last year with Eric Maynor. Damian's efficiency went through the roof when he was able to move off the ball a little bit. He was harder to load up on by defenses. It opened up his shooting and his ability to kind of create secondary plays instead of having to carry the weight the entire possession. And I think it's going to be a similar model with CJ. But like I said, you can ask Terry when I'm done.
You got 4 second-round picks. How do you foresee all those guys coming to camp? 2, 3 of them coming to camp? Any plans at this point?
We can't talk about it right now. We're only going to end up with 3. Well, I mean, whatever you're doing at the time is the most crucial. So tonight, the draft is the most crucial. It's what we're pretty excited about, and we'll get to enjoy it for about 10 hours. We'll wake up tomorrow morning and start coming up with a free agent strategy to get some veterans in here to help Terry so he doesn't have to play a kiddie core.
How does what happened tonight affect or clarify now your strategy going into free agency?
Well, I mean, look, clearly we addressed some backcourt issues. We addressed some depth issues. I think Alan Crabb's an elite shooter. He's got good size for position, Pac-12 Player of the Year. I think he was a nice grab for us. We moved up with some future seconds to go get him at 31. We're pretty excited about that. He was much higher on our board. Clearly, the way we play, we value shooting. CJ, obviously, his versatility is huge for us. His ability to play 2 positions and his ability to complement not just Damian but Wesley as well is going to be big for us in terms of our rotation. And then, we're really happy that Jeff was there at 39. I mean, he's a man. He's a 5th-year senior. Physically, he can play in our league right away. He's an elite shot blocker. He can protect the rim. Comes from a high pedigree, program with Kansas. And he's another guy that I think is physically capable of helping us immediately. But he's also a guy that, really helps us rebuild our asset pool and, and kind of extend our talent base. Well, we did make a trade. We moved 2 future seconds for Alan Crabb. I can't speak for other teams. I think everybody was a little bit thrown by how the draft started tonight. I think the top 10 was the top 10, but I think the order, was a little bit in a state of flux. So there was probably more of a flurry of activity. We didn't come close to making any substantial deals. We were kind of more in draft mode tonight, and we weren't really trying to generate anything that was going to, invade our cap room unless it was somebody that was going to project to be a starter. We won't be extending Eric a qualifying offer, but that had been made before the draft.
Does the selection of CJ impact how you will pursue Eric? Like, will you still pursue him?
Yeah, I don't want to speculate on free agents, but I mean, clearly, adding a 6'3" combo guard, it not only for us is the best player available, but also it addresses a need and gives us a little bit more flexibility. But those are discussions we'll have in July.
Where are you with the cap room, and how much trickier is free agency for you in the draft?
It is tricky. I think, look, there's a lot of money out there. There are a lot of teams that are under the cap. you know, I don't know how much depth there is in free agency, but clearly anytime you have that many key teams, $10 million or more with room, you're going to have a highly competitive marketplace. So, you know, we're going to have to be aggressive. We're going to have to be very strategic in who we approach first in terms of prioritizing guys that can really help us next year. You know, we just don't want to be left out in the cold.
Clarify the second round pick issue. Is it because there's going to a forthcoming trade? Is someone's going to stay overseas?
Well, if you promise not to do that again, I think we're good, Aaron. I think they can all. Alan Crabb at 31 has a chance to be he's going to be a player on our roster. So is Jeff Withey. Marko Todorovic. We had always come into this draft knowing we wanted to stash a guy in Europe. He's got a couple of years left on his contract. He's a really good, young, versatile big. He plays for a great team in Barcelona. And, you know, we just think that he's a guy that, you know, with some grooming and with some seasoning, could be an asset down the road for us. But we never went into this thinking we were going to have 3 second-round picks and a first make our roster. We did stretch a little bit because of Jeff Withey being available at 39. We just felt like we came into the draft wanting to draft 2 guys that can make our team. But I think the value of having somebody like Jeff available at a pick as late as 39 was just too good to pass up.
Last year, you mentioned Will Martin was a guy that you guys considered a first-round prospect. You said the same way for Allen as well?
Well, I mean, look, they were both higher on our board. I mean, I can say that, and that's how we work. We work in tiers. We leave very little to chance. We don't like a lot of subjectivity on draft night, and when we hit certain points in our draft board where guys are still available, that their talent exceeds their draft position, we try and get very aggressive to go obtain them. And I think that was the case with Allen tonight. And I think, you know, Jeff moved us into a mode where we were willing to draft as opposed to willing to move it for a future second or stash a second European player. You know, there was a lot of talent up there, but I think the differentiation between them was very subjective. And I'm sure everybody, you know, doing a press conference right now is ecstatic about who they got. And, you know, it's not for me to say. I know that we got a guy at 10 that we had higher on our board that we've been coveting since all of us drove through snowstorms to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania last December to go see. You know, we didn't, Kerry. You know, one of the things, you know, you look at one was we didn't really have a lot of tools. I mean, it's one of the issues we're kind of facing while we kind of restock the pool here a little bit. You know, the assets that are required to make even a 1-spot jump in the top 10 is just not something we have on our roster right now. It's one of the reasons we got a little bit more aggressive by adding 3 guys in the second as opposed to, you know, just 2. And you know, that's something we're trying to do is to be able to make more deals with more assets that, you know, we have a chance to becoming valued players by other teams around the league. But, you know, I don't think it was even viable to think what we have right now as an asset going into the night would have moved us from 10 up. And, you know, as it turned out, we had 10 players. We were going to be content with any one of the 10 that got to us. As it turned out, it was the exact 10 that went, not just in different orders. And we just happened to get lucky enough that the one guy we got was a guy we had rated much higher.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up there. We'll have Coach Stotts available as well off to the side. So.
Thank you.